Hi, my name is Liz from Lohas, Canada, and these are the 4 ultimate eco-friendly swaps that you can make to improve your lifestyle if you're on this eco-friendly journey. So I'm not going to be talking about reusing water bottles and plastic bags. We already know that. A lot of us are past the point of that. So, like you, I am searching for eco-friendly swaps, but these ones are the 4 ultimate ones that have changed my life and also added value to it. So, number 4, let's talk about stop scrolling and start connecting. So there's already places and already organizations within your local area that are doing things for the environment. So we keep on scrolling and searching to see what other people are doing, how they can actually be involved, but we're not actually becoming involved. So can you name a couple organizations off the top of your head that you've gotten actively involved in and help contribute to something that you're passionate about? So instead of continuously scrolling and figuring out what we can do, there's already organizations locally and internationally that are already doing so many great things. So can you name 2 organizations locally in your area that are already doing something that you can actively get involved in and be contributing to that? So a lot of you are already doing number 4, so let's talk about number 3. So number 3 is swapping out, keeping up with our culture, and we're swapping that out with the reality that's happening right now. So you're probably thinking, what do you mean about our culture? Our culture is consumption. You already know about minimalism, you already know about simplicity, but really comparing your core values to other cultures and how they're doing things is really what we need to look at and diversify, because we weren't always in this situation. We weren't always culturally driven in this manner, and we really need to start looking at other cultures and looking at our reality. Are we able to keep up with producing as much fish as we do right now? So really looking at our reality of what we're doing, what we're eating, what we're growing, what we're producing, what we're buying. Number 3 and number 4, people have already swapped those out. They're well on their way. Let's talk about number 2. 2 is going to be a little uncomfortable for some people, but guess what? We need to talk about it. We need to figure out where we came from. Our ancestors, what they did before us, and where they've come from, and what they were using, and what they're incorporating in their lives. So as a society, really looking to what we did, what was happening on this land before we were here, before our ancestors got here, or how they were using it if they're from here. And also looking in Canada's cultures of the First Nations people and what they did here before we became and changed everything. Is there something I can incorporate and learn within my life? What are the materials that are used or that are native to here that we could possibly use? Because there's so much that we don't know about to where we live, and we don't really utilize what we have here. I also go down the rabbit hole of what foods did they use, because what foods I am eating here in Canada is not necessarily what they ate over there. So is there something I can incorporate it within my own life? A lot of times we're just so in the mainstream of what's in front of us that we don't even realize that there's a whole world of fermentation, there's a whole world of preserving, there's a whole world of all these other things that we've really lost that tradition because either it hasn't been passed down to us, we didn't know it, or that it's just not in our daily lives or our mainstream. Yes, other cultures, but really your own culture, and getting a sense of identity of who you are, where you came from, how they used it. So the number 1 swap you can make in your life that will completely change it is swapping shopping with a skill. So shopping is something we have learned. It is something that has been taught to us, and we can unteach ourselves and replace it with actually making it ourselves. Learning some sort of handcraft, some sort of hands-on skill. And that's really contagious that other people want to make things as well. So start small. You can do woodworking, you can do knitting, you can do weaving. There's so many different avenues you can take to swap those things and add value to your life. So if you want to swap and you want produce bags, for example, learn how to sew. Or if you already know how to sew, bring out that sewing machine or learn how to hand sew. There's so many different swaps that you can make within your own life. So on this eco-friendly journey, we want to swap a lot of things. So we want to swap our plastic bags for produce bags, but buying them from overseas with unknown labor standards, is that really a swap? It is a swap for us because we don't see those conditions. We don't see what's happening. Can you swap making it yourself? And when you start swapping for these things, you really realize you can make a lot of things yourself. So you can make books yourself. And if something doesn't appeal to you, maybe woodworking or sewing doesn't appeal to you, it's great. You can swap those and buy it locally from people who like making those things. So this is really becoming more of a handmade nation and being able to contribute a skill towards something. And you're able to form communities, and there are already so many communities for those types of crafts already out there. So say if the internet was no longer working and you had to teach a bunch of people a skill, what would be the skill that you would be comfortable in teaching or could contribute to other people? You'll find that there's people already done 1 to 4. They've ticked all those boxes. And the next step, the ultimate level, is to do the fibers and the raw material yourself. So if you're into sewing, then you would be able to figure out how to do some sort of textile with raw materials on the land that we live on and be able to produce it ourselves so it's right from plant to garment or to fiber or to whatever. If you're into woodworking, it'd be right from plant source, so fiber or cellulose, right until the finished project. So we're not constantly importing and exporting, and we're giving people jobs and income on our own land, and so we're able to help other people overseas in a much different way. So these are not your traditional swaps, of course, that you normally see, but this is the way that it's already happening. There's already huge movements happening of how we can be self-sufficient, how we can learn off the land, how we can live off the land, and how we can re-educate ourselves from going from shopping to everything to making it ourselves. So this movement is already been created. If you're in those communities already learning skills, you know that there's a whole world out there of people and connectivity and that are already making a huge difference. So can you complete the sentence? My skill I would be teaching to others would be...